So for our third lesson here of chapter 18, just dealing with volume formulas of three-dimensional shapes. The volume formulas are all here for you. So from here to here are all the volume formulas you would need. These are complete. There's no like piecing things together like you had to do with surface area. These are just pure plug and chug. So these are the formulas that you'll use. One thing I guess I would point out is do understand that like this A value that you see here represents the area of what we would call the base. They refer to it as the cross section. We would think of this as the area of the base times the height. So let me just point out a couple things to you here with these. So again, if I had a volume of a prism, I would do the area of the base, and they call it the area of the cross section, but we call it the area of the base, same thing. The area of the base is 6 times 10. The height is 4. So I'm just doing 6 times 10 times 4 to get the volume. And same is going to be true with these. It's pure plug and solve. When it comes to a cone or a pyramid, do understand that the height is the vertical height, not the slant height. So right here you would have the slant height, and this is what we use for surface area. But right here you have the volume height, which is the vertical height. So keep in mind, surface area measures what's on the outside, which is why you would use the slant height because it's on the outside. Volume measures what's on the inside of a shape, and so it would only make sense to use the vertical height that is on the inside of the shape. But again, it's just pure plug into the formula. There might be cases where you have to do a little side work, like you'll notice there's a right triangle here, so maybe instead of the vertical height, what if they gave me the slant height? Right, then I might have to use a little Pythagorean theorem to get the vertical height. So they might force you into a little side work, but it's still just a matter of pure formula for these guys. Again, with the pyramid that you see here, so it's the area of the base, so they call this the area of the cross section. That's the base, so just 10 times 10 times the height, which is the vertical height, which they're telling me right here is 15, is the vertical height. So it's just the area of the base, 10 times 10, times the vertical height, and then again, just make sure you take into account if there's like a 1/3 or something like that. So, but other than that, it's just pure formula. If you get some of the combined shapes like this one, just recognize you're just doing the two shapes separately and then adding them together. In a volume scenario like this, it would just be the volume of a cone plus the volume of the cylinder. This radius of 7 would also be the radius of 7 for the cone. And so I just find the two shapes separately and add them together. That's all you'd have to do. Same thing here. This is the volume of a cone plus the volume of half of a sphere. And so I just use pure formula to figure that stuff out and add my answers together. So that's really all you got to take away from the volume lesson. It's just pure formula, plug in the numbers, and we'll get the volume that way. Again, with some of the shapes like this, let me point out one last one. It's going to take a little side work. If I'm going to do the volume of something like this, again, I need the cross section is the green shape. In order to have a base must have a congruent parallel shape to it on the other side. So this triangle and this triangle are both congruent and parallel, which makes them the bases or the cross section. This rectangle is not the base, right? Because there's not another rectangle across from it that's parallel and congruent to it. So this is what we call a triangular prism. So it's the volume of a prism, and the triangle is the cross section or the base. So again, it might take a little side work. You might have to draw in the height, use a little Pythagorean theorem to get some of the numbers you need, things like that. But again, pure formulas, so we'll just be plugging away into formulas to do the volume on these.